Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Scaling Brokerage Podcast. Today, Karen has been kind enough to bless us with some of her time, give us her perspective on real estate, and then share us a little bit about her business. So I'll kick it right off to Karen, and I'll let her tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, my name is Karen Gulick. I have a brokerage in Texas. We have multiple offices, but our main office is more in South Texas. So I've been in the business 20 years and have had the brokerage since 2018. So awesome. it's been a great journey. I wouldn't trade it.
Awesome. Well, that's wonderful. And you said you're more in South Texas, you said specifically?
Somewhat. That's where our main hub is, but we have an office in Central Texas, which would be closer to the College Station area. And then we have a couple agents that work North Texas, and then we have a couple agents that work more of the coastal area of Rockport, et cetera, around the Corpus area. So we have I'd say tools in our toolbox and all over the place.
That's awesome. Great to have a good spread on the, our market on our state as well. That is awesome. Well, tell me a little bit. You said started in 2018, so you got started, before COVID, before NAR and all the things that happened in the last few years. Tell us a little bit about what it was like getting started in 2018 there.
2018, I had been in the business a while already, and so how it started was I had so many leads and repeat customers coming to me. I thought, you know what? I'm going to create a team, if you will, and have my own brokerage to where I can divvy some things out. Absolutely. Not all years are that lucrative, of course, but that's how it started. I thought this would be so much easier than just referring everything out of house. Let's just keep it in-house. So, and from that moment, it just bloomed, and I'm glad I did it, actually. And there were a couple other reasons as well, but I thought, wherever you want me to touch base on that, that one gets a little deeper, and it goes into a little bit more about our focus. So it kind of ties into a segue to that.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. What you take it a little deeper.
Well, so where I was at, it was with a big brokerage, and they were fantastic. I think every brokerage is great. Let me preface that with, I think every brokerage is great. It's like having a toolbox or a big garage full of tools with all the drawers, and each one is needed for a different area and for a different focus. So the focus that ended up happening, or where I ended up thinking this plus the leads would be a good situation, is there are certain things that you're hobbled with or you're not able to do in certain brokerages or certain areas. For instance, I'm in the country area, if you will. I'm outside of San Antonio. So we have a lot of 20 acres, 100 acres in a house, or we have, it may be commercial, but it's in the county. So you're not even subject to commercial regulations. So I call those like hybrid listings, if you will. Are they farm and ranch? Not really. Are they residential? No, because you're dealing with a septic and mineral rights versus just the regular lot and block. So that was one of the key elements, building enough tools that you can do and have the audience to sell a 100-acre tract with a house, or sell 5,000 acres with no house whatsoever. Yeah. And also do light commercial, because it really is a parcel of land. It could be 5 acres along a major highway, but you're in the county. So it's literally land without even the commercial restrictions, but yet a business could be added to it. So that doesn't fit the norm all the time. No. And so that's kind of where all that started and created the whole need for it.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. And to kind of touch on that, how do you, maybe newer agents, maybe agents that have been in different markets, how do you kind of help them get started in your market, with it being, a little bit more, kind of diverse and the properties and homes that we're selling?
I think it's also having agents look through, to get them started, I have them look through a different lens, because a lot of times you'll go through real estate classes and this is what it's supposed to be. This is how it's going to happen. This is what you're going to do, every file, every situation. And that's not the case when you have this, again, I'm going to keep using the word hybrid because I don't know what other word to use, when you have this scenario. So I think helping them understand and where to get the resources to answer the questions, because again, this is not going to be your normal, where are you going to get an answer? So
Yeah.
now if you're 100 acres with minerals, you now know, oh, I better know maybe a landman or an attorney that I can talk to, that you can refer them to get any answers on the deed. Or what does a surface right conveyance mean versus a rights conveyance? And where would I find that pipeline that's going through the country? Where would I find the pipeline information? And teaching them where their sources are, and then always go to the source. And with that said, I always help them on the new agents, because I feel like it's more in the, not deer in the headlights, but they're not frozen, but they're, where do I get this information? I'm not going to be able to do anything until I know everything. Well, you can't know.
Yeah.
No one knows everything. I'm not going to know everything. And if I've been in this business 80 years, it's just impossible. So, and you can't even teach them every single scenario. It's impossible as well. So I always feel like I get to the nuts and bolts and say, okay, if we have a title somewhat question, if this falls under this umbrella, go talk to your title rep that you're friends with. Go get their take on it. If it's more of a mineral easement type of mineral rights, surface rights, go talk to your trusted attorney that you know of, that you can talk to. If it has to do with I don't understand that survey, what am I going to do with that? Of course, they call me as a broker, but I also want to not give a man a fish, teach a man how to fish, and maybe call that trusted surveyor. So I think if you have all of your subs that you know, or your information resources, sky's the limit. I think you can solve all the problems that you come about. So that's what I do with the new agents.
Absolutely. Love that. And that goes for, any market, building those connections, building those relationships, within our sphere of, real estate, goes a long way. So that's a unique, that's something I know I haven't heard on the podcast before. Having to kind of find the, different pipeline, things like that we can help, set them up in their properties. So that's interesting. That's really cool.
Right.
And I know we kind of touched a little bit on maybe some of the challenges faced. Since opening the brokerage, have you ran into anything that you feel like has slowed you down, or anything that's stopped stop business for a couple months, anything like that?
I haven't stopped business, but this year has been very, very difficult. And I think the biggest is cost and resources, because if there's no production, you still have, and the same is true to if you're an independent agent working for a brokerage, or you're a brokerage operating. The operating costs are there no matter if the production's there or not. And so it's just on a grander scale, because in our situation, we have commercial brokerage sites such as LoopNet and Crexy to have a platform and an audience for our commercial. And again, like commercial, we're not going to do a high rise in Dallas or something like that. But then we have farm and ranch. We have to have, I don't know if we're putting name brands and everything, but land.com is where you're going to actually sell your listing. And that is a super high cost to have that platform, to be on the first pages, to have the signature where somebody's actually going to see it. And those costs just keep on going, whether their things have not been selling, and the farm and ranch has been a little slow. So I'd say the biggest issue right now is just to have all those tools in the toolbox. Those cost a lot to have those platforms and get our audience, to have our audience and people see our items out there, but they're necessary. I just don't think we can do our sellers justice if we don't have them. So we have to just keep going. So I think that's one of the bigger ones.
Absolutely. And to kind of touch on that, the marketing and lead gen side, do you do anything to market yourself to recruit? Do you guys try to bring in more agents to, try to, facilitate more deals? Or I should say, do you try to bring in more agents to facilitate more deals underneath of you there inside the brokerage?
I haven't recruited at this point. They've come to us just organically. Either they've seen our advertisements, they've seen the amount of listings that we have, or they see the production we've had, or they see it on the platforms and they say, I just keep seeing your brokerage. I'd like to learn about it. And I think going back to the beginning part of what I mentioned, that hybrid type agent, there's a need for it, especially in the rural agents where you can still do farm and ranch and not have to send it off to whatever farm and ranch division, or you can still do light commercial. Again, I don't condone the heavy, we need a true commercial CCIM type brokerage to do other things, but you can do some of those light commercial, and then you can still sell a house in our geographical region. I know that's always stressed, but a true farm and ranch agent, they may not have MLS, so they're not going to have the same NAR rules. They're not going to have the same situation of being told geographical region. A farm and ranch agent, a true farm and ranch agent, it's all, you're licensed in Texas, so you can sell everywhere, but you better know your stuff, and you're not going to go in and just do a disservice. So there's an element of making sure that you understand when you're capable and when you're not on that. So I think going back to that, and I know I'm hopping back to that, but it's just so vital to what we do, because we have multiple MLS systems. In fact, we have 8. So we have North Texas, we have Austin, we have Corpus, Rockport, Victoria, New Braunfels, San Antonio, and Houston. And so with that said, there are certain things that we have a agent that's up in North Texas. Well, he's very versed in that. So we can do Dallas Metroplex and, that area. So it's, again, I'm going off tangent. I'm sorry, but
Oh, you're fine. You're doing great.
the key is we have to have enough tools in our toolbox to facilitate that hybrid type situation. And I think it's a necessary cost, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it definitely pays off.
It does. It does.
Great. And I know, talked a little bit about recruiting. Do you have any plans to recruit in the future? Is it something that you've looked at all?
I have. I want to also, just like that, be competent in your geographical region. I do also want to have enough bandwidth that we have room and time for everybody else, because they deserve the best shot. It's an expensive industry to get into if you're not producing. So I want to make sure to give them the best shot that they can. And I want to make sure that I'm available. I always tell them, you can talk, text, call me, doesn't matter when, just, any question, please reach out at all times. So I want to make sure that I have the bandwidth for that, or somebody also that would have the answers. And I have a broker associate who he's also been in the business decades. So he's very helpful and has a servant heart as well. He wants to just help as much as possible. So the answer is yes. I just want to make sure that I have enough bandwidth and enough office staff to make sure that whatever they need, they can get it done.
Nice.
And to help them.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Do you do any, and just curious, I know it's like kind of a little off the side of recruiting, but do you do anything on like the training agents? Do you do anything, helping like those newer agents get set up, or you guys more look at the agents that have like maybe been in the market for a little while?
We have a lot of new agents, and I actually really enjoy the new agents because they're eager to learn. They're receptive to anything that I had mentioned, like, hey, try this or try that, or this is where I get my resources from. This is where I go to. You may have your own when you start reaching out to title agents or attorneys or so forth, but they're, especially in the farm and ranch part, we have different resources that, and different lingo. Like, for instance, we would say, can you send me a map right? Now it's called Land ID, and it has an outline of the property. It's a interactive map. It'll have pipelines and transmission lines and school districts, or, what floodplains, whatever, well reports, anything that is on there. And so the new agents, when I show them that, they're just, wow, that's awesome. Sometimes a seasoned agent will be like, no, I don't need that. I haven't used, I've done well without that. And I think, how do you do without that? So I see it as a vital, necessary situation. So I enjoy the new agents being able to show them and just realize, wow, I didn't hear that in real estate school. And I said, no, there's more on the job training than actually what you're going to learn from class. Nothing against the class. It's just like I mentioned, it's impossible to go through every scenario. So the classes have their place for sure. It's just on the job training in your specific type situation is vital. So I enjoy the new agents actually.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And yeah, definitely, hands-on training is almost in almost all cases, the best way to do it, best way to get the feel for it. That's awesome. That's awesome. And to dive a little bit into kind of the future, for yourself, for the company, what does it look like over the course of this year here? What are kind of some of the things you're looking to set out to do this year?
I like every year, half year, I like to evaluate what's working, what's not. And I think in this industry, you have to, if you're not up on the newest technology, up on the newest marketing, or up on the newest sites to maybe look at, or visual effects such as Cubicasa or any of the new ideas, you're just going to be left behind. So my growth thought process is always twofold, probably three. Is one, I like to keep up on technology. What's new? What are we going to be using? And an example of that is in 2020, whenever the COVID shut down, and I remember panicking, thinking, oh no, we can't even show houses. We can't do this. What in the world are we going to do?
Oh,
How are we going to sell a house? And so I went hot and heavy on the Matterport, and I bought some of the cameras for the office. And I just, every house I went that didn't have a Matterport 3D walkthrough, I went and did the 3D walkthrough and then sent that out. And that's the kind of thought I like to look at, like what is necessary now. And that helped tremendously. And then of course that really increased at least somebody at home saying, well, shoot, I can't go see it, but I got to move in 3 weeks. What am I going to do? And so that kind of view, so going back to your question, that view, I like to use that as my mindset of like, what am I going to need for this year? What is going to be vital to learn, to do, to increase our presence? And then for myself, I always like to, what am I going to learn this year? And I'm going to focus a little bit more on just learning. We do a lot of, like I was mentioning, farm and ranch. So the mineral deed research, we do that left and right. I always, before I even have a listing, or I'm looking at a listing, I'll go to the file, I'll go to the deed records and find the easements, anything that's been done with that property. I'll do my own little deed research and have a couple deeds, see if there's any mineral reservations. I'd like to get a little deeper into that. We use this one resource called Texas File. Shout out to Texas File, the best thing. It has every deed, a lot of deeds you need. But I'd like to get a little more in depth with that. So I was going to get with some of my attorneys to maybe get just even more in depth understanding of that. So I always like to learn quite a bit on the deed research. And then, so me personally, I'm always looking at something, where can I get even deeper on? What can I learn? And then the third is just looking at presence of where we can be. And I would like to expand a little bit more in the North Texas area, mid-central Texas, because I've seen with the agent that's been up there that there's a need without question. So, and again, it's the need. Every brokerage is fantastic. They have their own, like one may be in Florida and they do a lot of short-term, they do a lot of rentals, or they have a lot of rental management. And I don't do property management at all. So that brokerage may be a hybrid on that, to where they're kind of working on that. Or one may be in the San Antonio, where they are just trucking along at every lot and block type house in a certain area. That's great. I mean, everybody has their own focus, and I think every brokerage is fantastic when they're really putting their heart and soul into it. So I'd like to expand with our farm and ranch plus residential, because, and again, to go back on that, I know I keep stressing that, but that's one of our bigger focuses, because it's a lack, there's a lack of in different brokerages that I've seen. And so I just wanted to fulfill that, because that's something I've seen that I ran across. But there are so many farm and ranch agencies that they don't use MLS, as I mentioned. So if they do get a lead for I have this house to list, it's $1 million in this property, they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have a platform. They don't have an MLS. They don't have anywhere to sell that. So they always have to refer it out, or vice versa. So it's always good to, I have a lot of friends in the business and a lot of colleagues, and we do a lot of back and forth referrals as well. So
Oh,
I
nice.
just think growth in that hybrid type setting is important because you don't have a lot of brokerages that do both
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it gives their agents, more opportunities as well.
Yes,
Gives
100%.
them more opportunities to continue to sell real estate, continue to, make a living, continue to progress in their real estate careers too. So
Agree.
that's really awesome.
Agree.
I know we kind of talk short-term goals, for the 2025 at least. Only 5 years away from 2030, which sounds crazy. Um, but what would be some goals you'd have, that you'd like to, looking back, maybe when 5 years from now, you'd like to see yourself have accomplished?
I'd like to see larger, like in our South Texas branch, it's a bigger group. We have bigger facilities. The other satellite offices are smaller. I'd really like to see in the next 5 years that we have a broker associate in each of those regions that help agents and have kind of keep the progression going with having somebody to help each agent answer questions
Yeah.
from each of those brokers and just keep the growth and that mindset of the same what we started on continued. That would be lovely to watch for
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah, and that'd be great. I'd love to. Maybe we'll have a podcast 5 years from now and tell me all about the offices and different things you've done. So that would
I
be
love
awesome.
that.
That'd be awesome. And lastly, what would be some advice for some newer brokerage owners? Maybe just getting started in more today's market. What advice would you have for them? Getting their first step into their ownership.
I think try everything, learn from other brokers. I've met with other brokers that have been in the business longer, and I love hearing their take, and I feel that they also want to help you as well. The ones that have been in it a while, I don't see everybody as competition. I see everybody as a colleague because again, we each have our own focus. And so it's really neat to, like, I met with one of the big brokers, and she's a friend of mine, and we, right when all the NAR items came through, and she's like, what are you doing with your with these forms, or what are you telling everybody? And I do the same. And so what do you think about that? And we were both like, okay, this is all new. I think this is what we're going to do. And of course we check with our legal team as well. And I mean, we're not just willy nilly doing it on our own. We're just, how we present things are going to be important. And I think that would be number one. Find mentors in the industry that you respect and you've watched their progress, and just reach out. There's so many people happy to help. And then the other thing is try things. Don't feel like you're going to have it all figured out. If this CRM doesn't work, then that's okay. Try another one. Or you work on this advertising and you're paid for a 6-month contract and that just didn't net you any leads. That's okay. Try another one and
Yeah.
try. Just try things. So this industry, if you're stuck where you were 3 years ago, you're not progressing. So the only way to progress is to look at something new, try it out, kind of just see. I mean, I'm not saying again, just willy-nilly throw a dart on the board, whatever fits your model of what you're doing. And then the other thing too is you have a certain, if somebody's creating their brokerage, they've seen a need for a certain maybe market or need or whatever their specific is, and
Yeah.
realize that not everybody's going to fit that, and that's okay. You're looking for the ones that you offer tools if that's the job that they need, and that's a tool that's going to help for them. That's great, and always realize that. I think that's important.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I know that'll definitely help out some new brokerage owners, especially and I mean if you're in similar markets, or maybe you have residential not being the primary focus, in your market, or
Mhm.
maybe giving us, our agents, another opportunity by expanding into other avenues of real estate, can definitely be huge too, as as you go along and get to more so where Karen's at maybe now if you're on the newer side. But awesome. And I don't know if you'd like to share anywhere where the people can find you, especially if they're in Texas, maybe looking for some property, maybe looking for a new office, anything like that. Where can they find you at?
We are at our website is southtexasrealtyllc.com. And we're located, our main office is located outside of San Antonio, but I don't know if my number or anything shows, but you're always welcome to text or call me. My name's up there, so you can, oh, no, it's not. It's only on mine because it's on the Google, but 210-531-6695. We work in the San Antonio area. Again, we'll go down to the coast, Austin. We have platforms in College Station area all the way up to Dallas. So we don't go too far into the Panhandle or a lot of West Texas, but a lot of that Golden Corridor, we can help you, and we'd love to help you find whatever you need, or farm and ranch anywhere around Texas.
Awesome. And you guys heard here, and we'll link everything down below on phone number.
Great.
Anywhere they can get in touch with you, their social medias as well. But that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on your market over there in Texas. And then it's also nice kind of hearing how that we are spread around Texas. We don't just have our one primary MLS focus there. That's wonderful.
Right. Well, thank you again for having me. I appreciate that. It was a surprise to get that, and I'm just so happy to share my thoughts on that. And any other broker that wants to ever reach out to me, I'd love to give any advice or thoughts on my take, or even brainstorm any ideas. So let me know.